Assalamu alaikum. Hey you guys, I'm Amina and welcome to Miriam Poppins. So this is a Qur'an journaling process video and I'm going to tell you guys a story about how I became Muslim. So let's get started. I became Muslim in college when I was 18 years old. I was walking in the school and my best friend, she came to me and she said, "There's a Muslim in the game room." And I was excited. And I was like, oh, I always wanted to debate a Muslim. Don't ask me why I said that. I never met a Muslim in my life. And the only thing I knew about Islam was watching Spike Lee's Malcolm X. So I went to the game room and there was a Muslim in there talking about Islam. So I went to the Muslim and I was pretty bold and I was like, I'm going to prove to you how Islam is wrong and that is totally incorrect. So the child was up for my challenge. Like, what could I bring that nobody else could bring from years and years and years and years of actually studying Islam could not bring? What could I do? So I went home and I called myself doing something. I go on the computer and I start printing out everything from these websites that had nothing but bad to say about Islam, about how the Qur'an had contradictions and certain hadith that were wrong and all this madness. And I printed it out and I wasn't even scholarly, y'all. I just printed it and I was like, this all sounds good and I'm going to go ahead and take it with me. So I had a stack of papers. I mean, like a stack of papers that I didn't even read all the way through. So I go inside the school building the next day and the head Christian guy is what I call him, that he took my stack of papers and we were friends. So he took my stack of papers and excuse me, he did a quick glimpse over them and he nodded and smiled like I found the hidden mystery, like the key to show that Islam is incorrect. I did something big here. So it was like a big approval. So the Muslim kid comes in, true to their word, gets the stack from me, looks it over, like, you're just breezing along, looking through, and they noticed that a lot of the arguments that I provided them was arguments they've heard for years now, because this child was raised Muslim and they've always was going through what I was putting them through, which is someone trying to convert them probably, and how Islam is incorrect and how their soul needs to be saved. And so the child took these papers and looked over them, and I don't even remember how we ended with those papers, but that child didn't become Christian. So, spoiler alert, I became Muslim. But I spent a lot of time in I think this was my first year of college, chasing around this child, trying to get them to be Christian. I'm trying to save their soul, and I was making life difficult. And you probably would be surprised, but I have the ability to make people's life difficult, and that's what I was doing. And after a while, I got tired of chasing this child and trying to save their soul. I was like, I'm going to focus. I'm going to focus on myself, and I'm going to focus on my religion and learning about it so that I can be better. So I got a Bible. I was really into it. I was reading, and that Muslim child had said to me one day, you know that you're not supposed to eat pork. And I wanted the same kind of situation that this child had with Islam. They had guidance. They didn't date. They wasn't eating pork. They went off to go pray, and I was doing nothing. So I was like, okay, I'm not supposed to eat pork. I looked it up, and yeah, rest assured you couldn't eat pork. And so I stopped eating pork, and then I somehow discovered that you're supposed to cover your hair. And that made me I felt good because I was getting to a place where I was living my life with some meaning. I just wasn't wandering around this earth. And it says in First Corinthians, whenever you're praying and prophesying, you must cover your head. And I said, great, I spent a lot of time praying. I need to cover my head. So my sister and I, my twin, we went to the Asian beauty supply store and we found these little scarves that, they come to your shoulder. If you guys been to the Asian beauty supply store, you're probably familiar with it. And we started, put a safety pin in the back, put your hair in, put the safety pin in, and have it flapping in the wind behind your ears and everything like that. And my mom, she still had pictures of my sister and I dressed like that. And we went to school, enough so that we had our Bible, hair pulled back with the little scarf blowing in the wind, and kids were going to their student advisors or whoever and saying, do we have nuns in college? And so it was great because I wanted to be looked at like a nun or a missionary. So now I'm not eating pork, I have my hair covered, and I started to look at different Christian bloggers. At that time, I don't think they were called blogs, but these young women, they were talking about how women should wear dresses and they should dress modestly. And I looked at my dress and how I looked, and I didn't feel like my appearance was modest. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start wearing dresses. And I went to that Christian kid and I said, do you know a place where I can go that I can get some long dresses? And I didn't want to go into the Jewish area because I didn't know where to go. And I felt like I was going to get lost. So the Muslim child says, yes, I do know a place. And they showed us to a place that sells Muslim overgarments, Muslim clothing, everything. We went into this store and it was a mother and sister team, and I'm still friends with this family. I went in there and they gave us a greeting, assalamu alaikum. And my sister and I looked them up and we were like, we're not Muslim. And at this time people were giving us a greeting and we would say, we're not Muslim, just point blank period, not Muslim. And we would not give the greeting. I don't even know if I smiled when I said I wasn't Muslim. I don't think I was friendly. I think I was annoyed and wanting to be different. I didn't want to be Muslim, and I didn't want people to think that I was. So when I went into the clothing store, I wanted to look like a monk or a nun. And so my sister and I was like, nope, we don't want to look, we want to look monk-ish or nun-ish, but we did not want to look Muslim-ish. So we ended up getting overgarments that had hoods, and you can get them in different colors. So we got them in different colors, and we went to school dressed like that. The Christian guy that I mentioned in the beginning of the story, he had told us that in order to go to heaven, you had to be baptized and speak in tongues. So I went to the church because I was just trying to get closer to doing what Allah wanted me to do. So I was just like, I'm going to get baptized. I don't like water and going in my ear. I just find these things scary. So we went to the church and we got baptized, and I never spoke in tongues. I just did not do that. I actually find that scary. If you're from a church background, you know that when the music starts playing, there's a certain song or a certain beat from the drums and the band that will indicate that someone's going to get the quote-unquote Holy Ghost and start speaking in tongues. And when that song would come on in our church, I would be scared. I would be like, okay, I didn't want that for myself. Like, I want to know where you're going, What's going on with your body? Where's your mind? And why are you speaking in another language? Do you remember all these things? So if I can, I didn't want that. I was, nope. I didn't want that. I was scared. And so I never got a chance to do that, but I did get baptized. So now I'm baptized. I'm wearing an overgarment. I'm not eating pork. I got my hair covered, and I'm still going to church, and I'm still carrying my Bible, and I'm highlighting and learning a lot. I went to the church, and my sister, my mother, and I was there for Sunday service. And the pastor says to us after church or during church, he says, "Can we come back to talk to him after everything's done?" So we said, okay. We walked our mother home, and we told her we had to go back to the church because the pastor wanted to talk to us. And well, if the pastor is wanting to talk to you, you definitely want to oblige them. So that's what we did. We went back to the church and had a talk with the pastor. So we went to the pastor. We went back to the church, my twin and I, and we took a seat. The pastor sat in front of us, and he said, "Why do you have those things on your head? Our scarves." So we said to him, "Oh, we read it in the Bible in 1 Corinthians, verse such and such. It says, whenever you're praying and prophesying, you must have your head covered." And the pastor, he told us that Paul did away with that, or someone in the Bible did away with that, and that we don't have to wear our head coverings anymore. And that our hair was our covering. Now, for me, I think he had said that, or I read that on a website for arguments against covering your head. And I didn't agree, because if you're always praying and prophesying, then your hair is going to be your covering. But what if I get home and I'm no longer praying and prophesying, and I'm about to go to sleep? Do I take my hair off my head? So when the pastor said that, I didn't agree, and I didn't say that to him. You still had to be respectful. So the pastor, we said to him, "Can we ask him a question?" And he said yes. We asked him, "What is the Trinity?" And he said that the Trinity, and he looked kind of uncomfortable and unsure. And he said that the Trinity is like an apple. You have the meat of the apple, the core of the apple, and the seed. And all of these things are different, but when you put them together, they are one and the same. I have been studying so much about the Trinity because I've been talking to the Muslim child about the Trinity, and every argument I had, every simile, metaphor that I would read on websites, there was a way to prove that this apple wasn't going to work out. What if I got rid of the apple? What if I got rid of the seed? Does that mean that the apple no longer exists? But if we're talking about a law exists, and there I could not take away like how this apple was supposed to I still don't, as you can see, have such a hard time with that apple metaphor, because the way that the pastor was explaining this apple was like all these things are one, and they come together as one. No. So I don't know. Have you guys ever heard of that? I just couldn't work my mind on it. So after he said that, he said, "You know what? You guys study too much. What you need to do is go out on dates." So in the next video, I'll do a part 2 and explain what happened. But I thank you guys for listening and watching. And if you've heard anything about the apple that I was talking about, or your own personal experience, feel free to leave a comment and share with me. My story is so long, but I'm gonna do my best to condense it and have a part 2 up soon. So thank you guys. Have a great day or great night, depending on where you are at in the world. Assalamu alaikum.